Hello and welcome to another session of Let's Get Real with Mona. That's me, where I share stories and teachings to inspire you into action to turn your dreams into reality. So, welcome and thank you for joining me for another session. Now, we're still in the magical creation energies of January. And yes, how has it been so far with you and designing your abundant life for 2022 and beyond? I'm sure some of you may have been feeling a bit wobbly because the frequencies and the energies have been quite interesting and they've been a bit compounded over the past couple of days. So, not to worry, you're not alone. And I guess that's why the foundations that we have and we set up before we actually create or set intentions for goals are so necessary, and they help us to deal with those wobbly patches. They help us to ensure that despite what's going on around us, we can still show up. So please do let me know who's joining me today and where you are in the world. So we're still on the journey of designing our abundant life for 2022 and beyond. And this week, we're looking at another foundational aspect, another foundational factor in designing your abundant life, and that's the power of clarity. Now, many of you have heard how important it is to have clarity, but do we, fully understand what clarity actually means for us? What does it mean for us to have clarity? Now, the Cambridge English Dictionary defines clarity as the quality of being clear and easy to understand. So, makes sense, doesn't it? Now, what I found recently, another definition for clarity, which I quite like as well, is the ability to be clear, free from obstruction, to open, unclog, unstop, and unblock. Now, just think about that. That's quite powerful. You see, what I love is combining both these definitions, and what it actually does is it then elevates it into a tool to designing your abundant life. Because you see, before we can even design our abundant life, it is important to remove the blocks, to remove the obstacles, to remove the obstructions that are standing in the way, and which is preventing us from actually seeing clearly what's possible for us. And when we are able to move this out of the way and we can see more clearly and we can have more clarity in our vision, then the universe can understand us better and then able to guide us to fulfilling our dreams and our wishes. Are you understanding the power of clarity already? So, what could be these blocks or obstacles? Now, there's two common ones that I'd love to share with you today. The first one is judgments. Yes, did you know that judgments taint the way we see things, the way we look at the world, the way we look at other people, the way we receive and the way we give things? And it has become a major block for most of us, if not all of us that are in that space. You see, we've got to watch out for words like good and bad, should or should not, right or wrong. Because what we are doing, each one that we, use these words for becomes a judgment, an indictment on the opposite of that. So we've got to be very careful about that. And what you find is that many of these judgments that we have come from programming, from our childhood, the communities we grow up in, the schools we went to, media, literature that we may have read. And it's important to note that many of this may not be fully rooted in reality, but we hold on to these judgments. Now, just think about it. I've grown up in South Africa. And what's one of the judgments here? That if you're not, and this is not to offend anybody out there if you feel offended, but when we grew up in the apartheid era, if you were non-white, it was not good. Well, in some communities, it was so bad that non-white, black was actually seen to be like evil, less than, not worthy of life. So that's how judgments can impact us to such a far-reaching consequences that it can have and negatively impact us. Then on the other hand, those of us who are non-white thought that white was superior, white was better, white was beautiful, white was good. And then we judged ourselves being non-white in the opposite direction. So just to give you an example of how these things can play out and how that clouds our judgment, how that blocks us from even having clarity of what's possible for us. And again, I'll use the example of South Africa. When we think that something is better and we are not that thing, we see ourselves as bad, not good enough. So can we even envision and have a clear vision of what it is we'd love to have or experience? No, it blocks us. And did we not, we may not even realize that that's what's impacting us. So another common block, and this can be something that's common for many, many, many of you, are distractions. Yes. Did you know how distractions block your clarity? Yes, well, if you didn't, well, today you're learning about it. But not only do they divert your focus, it also depletes your energy and takes you off course. Now think about it. If you're sailing on a boat or a ship, and if you're just 1 degree off course, do you know it takes you completely in another direction, not even close to where you were heading to? So I want you to be very mindful of distractions going forward from today. And this is what happens. You see, when we're not clear, these distractions can just come up and consume your time, your energy, and then you're completely off course. And then you wonder what happened. Why didn't you achieve your goals? Now, in order to design your abundant life, you must know exactly what it is you want. You see, you must be able to think clearly, and you have to be able to stay focused. I want you to take a moment right now, and I want you to picture your abundant life. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? What are you wearing? What are you driving around in? What type of home you're living in? What are you eating? Now, I know I may have ran through those questions very quickly, but did you get images of that in your mind? Now, for those of you who have been doing personal development work for a while, it may have come more naturally, more easily. But here's the thing, with all the interesting things that have been happening in the world over the last 2 years, we got a bit knocked off our normal course. And we may be veering off, trying to get back onto the path that we were on. So even for those of you who may have been practicing it in the past, if you aren't regularly practicing clarity, this tool of knowing the details of what it is you want to experience in your life and recommitting to it and reaffirming it every day, then it can be a bit challenging to get back on track. And like you know, repeated practice helps you to become more familiar with it, helps you to get better at it, right? As they say, practice makes perfect. So how easy was it for you? Were you able to see the details to my question? And how far into that vision did you go for each question, right? Because that's where the power in all this lies. Now, like I said, for many people, it's quite a challenge to see their abundant life. And are you one of them? Now, here's the thing. It's not a problem if you couldn't see it. It's not the end of everything. You're learning how to be more clear. You're learning how to actually focus. And that takes practice. Now, did you know that clarity helps us to tap into this quantum field of resources, which then empowers us to take action to design and create our abundant lives? Because this is what happens. You know, many people would just jump up and go set a goal. And then, like we know, by the end of January, some even before the end of January, some will stretch into February, some even to March. Some, very, very few, will even go all the way to May, beginning of June. But the reason why the majority of the world's population that sets goals and resolutions at the beginning of the year fail at them, and I'm using the word fail because it's the opposite of succeeding at them, it's because we haven't tapped into this quantum field of resources which clarity brings to us. Now, have you noticed that when you lack clarity, you feel uncertain, you feel doubtful, you feel like your head is in a tiz, you feel confused, you experience brain fog, right? It appears that there's no clear path. It feels like you don't know what the plan is. Then what happens? You make decisions, and then you feel like you're changing your decisions. You keep, making changes to plans, to things, paths that you wanted to go on. And then what do you think happens? More doubt settles in when we do that. Then we start questioning, is that the right path? Is that the right thing to do? You start questioning whether you require more resources, whether you require to upskill yourself. But all the while, it was because there was a lack of clarity. So that doubt comes in, like I said, the confusion, the stuckness, then it's procrastination, then it's scattered focus, then it extends to relationship difficulties. And then what do you think comes in? Stress, amongst other things. And then we feel it's just too much to go on. And then what do you think we do? We abandon those goals that we set. Now, did you know that clarity helps us to be grounded and centered? It helps us to be focused, action-oriented. And most of all, I just love this. It helps us to feel energized, because think about it. When you have energy, nothing stands in your way. You will show up for your life. You will show up for whatever it is that brings meaning into your life. Now, it's important to have clarity, that when you have clarity, to first identify what's important to you and why it's important to you when you're designing your abundant life. You see, because when we don't identify what's important and why it's important, well, then it can fizzle out. Like, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There's a few things that you set intentions on, or you set goals to achieve, but it didn't happen. It fizzled out. And I bet you there was the clarity was lacking. The detailed clarity was lacking, because sometimes we can have a bit of an idea, but we don't take it further. Then it kind of stops halfway, or 3/4 of the way or quarter of the way. And like I said, without clarity, what we do is we end up abandoning our goals. And the minute things get tough, it's like, oh no, this is too much. Let me run away. And what you require is this rocket fuel, because you see, like intention is your rocket fuel. Clarity is the next level of your rocket fuel. It starts magically moving things around you to bring this into focus and bring our goals into our space and onto the path that we are on. Now, if you've not defined what's important to you, my teacher, Dr. John Demartini, taught me this many years ago. He said, if you don't define what's important to you, well, low priority activities are going to consume your days. Now, how many of you know what I'm talking about? When you're not clear about what it is you want to do in a day, have you noticed that other things just come into your space and take up your time? And this is all because what happens with clarity is that we're saying yes to something. And when we're saying yes to something, we're actually saying no to something else. And the more clear we can be, the more details we can add into what we're doing, then what do you think happens to the low priority activities? They move away and they eventually fizzle out. So when we have clarity and we define what's important to us, it's easier for us to say no to the less important activities. And then this soon, frees up our time, our energy, our money. And what happens when we don't say no to things? Well, it takes us further and further away from our goals and our abundance. Now, it's important for you to know that the buck stops with you. And if you can't get your head straight, your mental clarity, your focus, if you can't get all that working in your favor, then what's going to happen is that it's going to negatively impact your life and the flow of your abundance. So can you see? Clarity is really, really important in designing our abundant life. And we can't even skip the step. It's like baking bread and leaving an ingredient out. Maybe it's the yeast, maybe it's the sugar, which activates the yeast. So however you want to look at what clarity is clarity the sugar that supports the yeast, or is clarity the yeast? So you determine how you want to look at it. Now, when we're clear about what we want to have, what we want to do, what we want to be, what we want to create, what we want to experience, doors open up for us. And if there were no doors there, then new ones show up. Have you noticed that in your life? You see, what I love to, or how I love to see it, is it's support from the heavens. That when we are clear, well, we just open up these magical frequencies to support us, to help us, to guide us on our journey. Now, until you can see clearly what it is you want to create, it will be hidden from you. Think about it. If we are, a bit challenged with our eyesight, something could be right there, but we can't see it. Even if we have 20/20 vision and we suddenly stressed out about something, we don't get to see what's in front of us, right in front of us. And I know this for a fact. Until I opened myself up to the fact that wealth was possible for me, despite me growing up in South Africa, it's possible for me and all of us in this country. Well, the opportunities to learn about money, to learn about wealth, to learn about abundance wasn't there for me. It was there, but I couldn't see it. So this is what clarity does. When you allow yourself to stretch yourself and see beyond and go beyond where you are right now, no matter where you are, what stage you are in your life, suddenly everything that's always been there becomes more visible to us. And that's the same for our dreams and goals. So just feel into that for a minute. Just feel into that statement that until we are willing to clearly see what's possible for us, that which we desire is hidden from us. So we can't just have a goal to go on a luxury safari. We have to see it in every single detail. We have to go deep into where it is that we'd love to be. What is it that we're doing? Who are we with? And even I go to the extent of what is it that I'm wearing? Now, if you've been paying attention, you'd know that I set this intention to go on a luxury safari all the way in 2020. And then I got clear about, what magical experiences I would love to have on safari. And I went and I looked at things all around and that's a stunning place to be in. Oh, yes, they do breakfast, lunch, high tea, dinner, game drives. Right? What are you drinking on your game drive? What are you eating when you stop? What animals are you seeing? How many people are on the game vehicle with you? And notice how that's going. And what do you think happened in the past year? There was just safari, luxury experiences out in nature, non-stop. And that's the magic of clarity. And that's just one example of the safaris. There's so many others that I can share with you. Now, just think about this. If we aren't clear about what it is that we'd love to experience, what it is we'd love to do, to have, to create, to be, how can we expect the universe, God, spirit, source to bring that to us, to guide us towards it, if the cosmic help that's out there doesn't even know what it is we really want? Now, I remember the book, and I think it's Esther and Jerry Hicks, Ask and It Is Given. Now, the secret to asking is clarity. You see, because we have to ask with clarity. So if you just look at a simple example, if you want a car, be clear about what the model is, what color, what make. Does it have, special features? Does it have navigation? Does it have a sunroof? What is it? The more you can crystallize it, that's how you get all the quantum energies in the quantum field, the cosmic beings to support you in actually manifesting that dream, that desire, that wish that you have. So it's quite a playful thing, this element of clarity. It's you tapping into these different spaces. And it's the same with a house. What do you want in a house? Where do you want your home? How many rooms? How big must it be? Again, what's the special features? And this is what I found with clarity. Take it up a notch. There's some special features you must include in your envisioning process. And when you do that, it's like magically, there's something that gets locked into it the minute you put a special feature into your process of when you're envisioning and you're becoming clearer, because that's what it's about. If you were ever wondering what's clarity really about, it's going to the little details and putting in the special features. Well, that's my teaching. That's how I manifest. It's something little that I'll just add in, that extraordinary little element there. Now, did you know that many people go about their lives focusing on what they don't want? Yes, I guess that's how society is. And pay attention. How frequently do we say what it is we don't want? It's almost like that comes out automatically from our mouths until we train ourselves to do otherwise. I mean, hey, sometimes I get caught up in that as well. And then I've got to stop, backtrack, and then okay, this is what I just said. Is that what I want to create? Nope, not at all. I want to create what I want. I want to bring into my life what I want. And then I get more crystal clear about what it is that I want. You see, The lack of clarity, we can go into judgment about why we don't have lack of clarity and what's wrong with me and, when will I ever get it right? But the more we do that, we actually take ourselves further and further away from creating our reality, the abundant life we desire. Because you see, what's behind the lack of clarity are these subconscious fears. And it's that which controls us, it's that which prevents us from just bringing this clarity into our space and designing and creating our abundant life. Now, until we address these fears, we will repeat the same results every year. So, what are you doing to address those fears? Do you even know that you have fears that are controlling your actions or the actions that you fail to take? Because that's what's behind everything. Right? There's something in the subconscious that's impacting us. And clarity, remember, it's a clear mind. It's a mind that is just so focused and can just paint a picture of something. And everyone and everything around you is just drawn into the clarity of your vision. I'm just remembering right now another thing that my teacher, Dr. John Demartini, taught me. And he said, the clarity of your vision determines the vibrancy of your health. Yes, that's how powerful it is. And this is so important. And you'll see, I share more about that as well when we're talking now about, some of the benefits of clarity. Now, it's important for you to know that you have access to this creative power to design your abundant life. Did I say your abundant love? Yes, because that's what life is. Life is love. So abundant love, abundant life, that's all the same thing to me, because life is love. Love is life. And the more we can express that and enjoy it, then we get to tap into something so magical in our lives. And clarity is the key to tapping into and designing our abundant life. So when you think about, this quantum field that we get to tap into and how we move out of stuckness and how we move into this place of expansion and how we get the heavens to work with us, it's things you can't even express to people. You can't even find words that logically explain it. And this is what I want you to understand. When you have clarity, you are unable. It just looks like you just waved a wand and it happened. That's how it would feel. So here's some benefits of clarity, like I was sharing. Did you know that clarity boosts your confidence? Yes. Because if you know what you want to do, what you want to achieve, where you want to go to, you get on that bicycle and you start riding it, don't you? Or you drive a car, whichever one you're going in, or you take a plane and you're going in that direction. Now, clarity keeps you inspired. You see, it's not motivation which moves us along, propels us. It's inspiration. Clarity does that for us. Like I said, clarity energizes you. If you really, really, really want to experience a boost of energy, just take one area of your life and just, I'll share with you just now how to do it. Just take one area of your life and just bring some clarity through the details of what it is you want to experience in your life. Clarity helps you to be laser focused, yes, removes all those distractions and keeps you on track to design and create your abundant life. And clarity improves your health and overall wellness. Well, think about it. Energy equals higher vibration. Higher vibration, activates our health and wellness. It brings all things good to us. So that's what it does. Now, some tips to gain clarity, not gain clarity, gain clarity. What's very important is that you must write out what it is you want to do, to have. to be, to create, to experience. And the more finer the details when you write it out, well, you're going to create magic. And what I want to add to that is add a special detail that just takes it to the next level. It oomph it up. It gives it more power to your vision. The next step is pay attention to the language you use. You see, you want to write out only that what you want to experience, what you want to have in your life, and use positive and expansive words. And the third tip is watch movies or read books and magazines to unlock that clarity. Because you see, I believe that when you go and you look at something, it sparks something in you. And then you can look at a picture and hey, for me, I believe that if you can see it, you can have it. So go watch something, go read a book, let that stir and spark something in you. And then go sit out and write out what your abundant life looks like. Write out what it is that you see for yourself, what it is you see for your loved ones, what it is you see for the world you live in. Because it's time that you told those fears to sit in the back seat and you started driving your car. You started driving your car in the direction you want to go. But before you even start driving, it's important for you to know in which direction you're going. And that's what clarity helps you do. So let me know what resonated with you today, what benefit you got from this discussion about the power of clarity, and how this is helping you with designing and creating your abundant life in 2022 and beyond. So until next time, ciao for now.